Hey guys, King Cheerio 85 here. So let's talk about Voltron Season 6. Oh my god. Um, if you haven't checked out the Voltron Legendary Defender on Netflix yet, I highly recommend watching it, especially if you're an old school Voltron fan. It's done by the studio who did Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. Um, it's very top notch. The writing is just right on par. But let's talk about season 6, and I'm gonna do everything I can to not give away, not give away too much of anything that happens in this season. But if you haven't seen the previous seasons, some of it might spoil it a little bit for you. I'm hoping not. I'm gonna try to be as vague as possible here. Well, it shouldn't really spoil anything. I'm just going to talk about what I really enjoyed about it. So this season in particular was amazing. This is possibly the best season out of all of them. Like if this was the series finale, I mean, as far as the quality goes, you could not do better than that. That ended on like the highest high note I can possibly imagine. But this season, episode after, based on how the season finales have worked so far, then literally every single episode this season, I thought was going to be the finale episode. I wasn't paying attention to how the episode number. I think it's like 7 episodes. But I wasn't really paying attention to how many episodes I had already watched, because every single episode this season ends on effectively a very similar note to all the previous season-ending cliffhangers. And the season answers so many of the questions that had been laid out for all the previous seasons. It seemed like they just wanted to get the main story arcs wrapped up in a nice tidy way, but the whole, they did it so well that I have no real complaints about it. Like, I mean, the only nitpick I have with it is that they do something that previous Voltron series, that was a route they all basically have gone. And I kind of thought when a particular character was brought into the show, they were going to do something a bit different with him. But, in the end, they went that effectively the same route. And, I cannot complain about the execution with it. It was phenomenal, very entertaining. They went places that I honestly did not imagine I'd see them actually going to with him. The action set pieces in this season, phenomenal. There is a final battle in this season. There's a major final battle in this season, and it is so freaking amazing just to watch. The whole thing is just a spectacle. And it was something that I'm not used to seeing in most animated series, even most of the higher quality anime. Overall, like I said, this is definitely the best, in my opinion anyway, the best season of that series so far. It went a long ways towards developing, characters. The cliffhanger from the previous season was addressed almost immediately. Now, there were a couple standouts in this season as far as episodes go. Some that were kind of a little bit off the beaten path. Primarily, there was the Dungeons and Dragons themed episode, which I found to be just great, in every sense of the word. It was a nice little change of pace and nice way to break up the tension between most of the other episodes. And then there was the episode that focused on Keith and this Galra member of the Blade of Balmora, and I'm not gonna give away their significance at all there. If you haven't seen the end of season 5, then I'm not gonna give that away. Like their whole deal with Keith getting kind of these flashes of memory due to, like, it's difficult for me to explain, but he's getting these just gonna call them magic waves that happen, since there's not really any other way for me to explain it. Like these magic waves that kind of get, like, are washing over him, are giving him glimpses into his past. So he's able to see how his mom and dad met and how that relates to the Blue Lion, which, if anybody who started the series knows that in the first 3 episodes, they find the Blue Lion on Earth, which we have not seen Earth since those first 3 episodes. So it was nice to be able to go back to that and actually see Keith's mother and father interacting with each other. Because when we originally meet him in the series, he's an orphan. We don't know what happened to his mom at that point in time, but we are given hints that his dad had passed away. And gradually, more and more about that, it was revealed throughout the series. Well, all questions get answered, so that's really freaking awesome. The D&D episode, that one was just hilarious, especially with Shiro going through, and I'm sure my friend who is he plays a lot of D&D, and he was my DM for a while. I'm hoping we'll be again soon. Will sympathize with this. With you had Shiro, who was going through, and every single time his character died, he basically made a carbon copy of that character. It seemed to frustrate all the other players, and it frustrated the DM as well, which was just hilarious to me. Just being in a situation where I can observe completely from the outside, the frustrating player without being, like, actually in that group, which I don't like to imagine it, because imagine it too much as being part of the group, because then I have to imagine that I might be that frustrating player sometimes. So, with that being said, I loved this season. I really did. And I'm looking forward to... Okay, so overall, this season answered... any question that you had about Lotor, they answer this season. Any question that you had about the Alteans, I mean, they're addressed. And the actual finale to this season, it leaves you wanting more, but it also leaves you with a clear direction for where they want to take this series, which is awesome. I, for one, this is just me, getting my little, fan, my little desire as a fan of the entire franchise out of the way here. But for the next season, like many other fans of the whole Voltron franchise, I want to see Vehicle Voltron. All right, I want to see Vehicle Voltron brought into this this DreamWorks animation style. I I was never really a fan of the classic vehicle Voltron, but I did kind of like how it was done in the comic books, which, you know, the like 3 issues that actually had him in it, which didn't really do much to him. I feel there's a lot of potential. It's still left in this series that just hasn't been explored. And I'm ecstatic that it definitely seems to be there's the right people at you know on board at the head of this thing. Yeah, but overall, if you have not watched this season yet, watch it. It is so good. I cannot wait for the announcements to hear when season 7's actually going to premiere. Unless that's already been made yet. I don't know. I don't really pay attention too much to that. I mean, I should if I'm going to talk about it. Those were my main thoughts on the season. I was slightly disappointed that they turned they turned. Okay, just to be clear, here's my spoiler warning. All right. And it's not really much of a spoiler if you have watched most of or any of the other Voltron series. But I was honestly really hoping that for this series, Lotor wouldn't just be a straight up, mustache twirling villain. I mean, he's really not. He's actually very well developed. His motivations are, very clear. He's really not your standard mustache twirling villain, but I was just very, very disappointed that he became such the antagonist that he does in this season. I was kind of really hoping that he'd end up, by the end of the series, in contrast to other Voltron productions, be an ally, I guess. But they wanted, they kept the classic feel to it, and I'm very curious to see what happens next. All of our questions about Shiro, those have been definitely put to rest. Keith's whole familial storyline that was resolved here. There's not really much more I can say about this. It's without just repeating myself or just going off into tangents about how much I love this series. But so I'm gonna leave you guys with that. If anybody has any thoughts, maybe your opinion's different than mine. If you have anything you want to say, just say it in the comments down below. So, this has been King Cheerio off on a little love tangent about Voltron Legendary Defender. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Like, share, and subscribe.